Hi everyone, today my name's Edmund Pelgan. I'm having a chat with Basil Loizou of theBetter Value Group, and we're going to be talking about his business and his products and services and how he helps people around where he works. Basil, how about you introduce yourself and the business and tell us what you do?
Okay, well my name is Basil Loizou and the company name is theBetter Value Group, and we install security.
Okay, Basil, but you do a lot more than that, right? I mean, security is a big issue on everyone's minds now. So maybe you can introduce us and tell us about the products that you sell that help people improve their security.
Okay, so with the security, you obviously have the alarm systems, and with that, then you have the CCTV to back up the alarm systems for video verification or off-site viewing.
Yeah.
Then you need to have probably access control to complement the security. And part of security, and a lot of people don't realise it, is intercoms.
Right.
So people can contact you, or I suppose let you know that they're at the front door and who's at the front door, rather than just opening the front door to strangers.
Yeah.
And where that's particularly relevant, we'll probably talk about that a bit later, about intercoms and the benefits of intercoms.
Yeah.
And the other thing we do is access control.
So Basil, I've had a few chats to you in the last couple of days about the different types of alarm systems you provide, and I've actually been blown away by the features and the functionality and the things that you can actually do with the alarm systems. I guess in the old days, everyone's expectation was an alarm system that you just connected up to the telephone and you turned on the zones, and if someone walked through, it'd trigger the alarm systems and then it'd possibly ring back to base and call the security. But I mean, from some of the things that you've been telling me, they're actually they're much more powerful than that now. Maybe you can tell me what's changed in the alarm space in the last couple of years, I suppose.
I suppose the internet and computers have changed alarm systems in many ways, simply because now with an alarm system you get more information. You can intercommunicate with the alarm system through a computer or through a smartphone. You're getting more information, whereas originally you just get the notification that the alarm had gone off. Now you can actually get the details of what exactly has gone off, and then if you know what the activation has been, then you know how to respond. Right.
And Basil, when people come to you and they ask you about an alarm system, they want one put in, when do they typically do that? Is it they're thinking about a security system for their home, they're planning ahead, or are you normally seeing people at their worst, where they've had a break-in and they're going through all of that turmoil? Is that when you normally see them?
That's when I see the urgent ones, yes. And when they've had a break-in, or there's been a disturbance in the neighbourhood where there's been 3 or 4 houses broken into, and that generally happens because normally gangs or a group of burglars will case out a street or a suburb,
right,
and they'll hit 4 or 5 houses in a very short space of time.
Right.
And generally they'll do a circle, they'll disappear for a while, then they'll reappear again. So yeah, when they've had a break-in, and then the other time is when people are building a house, or they've bought a house without an alarm system, and they've had one before, and they like the security that comes with an alarm system.
Yeah, and when people come into you and they've just been burgled, what are the things that you try to talk to them about? Like, I mean, I'm sure you have a list of things that you want to explain to them that they need, or that'll provide specific security and extra protection. I mean, maybe you can tell me what are those things that you talk to that client about?
Okay, well, the most important thing is ask them what they want.
Right.
Because if you don't know what they want, you can't really solve their problem. And generally, they'll say they've had a break-in and they want an alarm system. So then, basically, if they've had a break-in, then I'll ask them, okay, so I'll call out to their house, do an inspection of their house, have a look and see where they've been broken into. And that gives me a lot of information. First of all, where they are, right, as location, suburb. And now it can be anywhere now from a townhouse to a acreage property, because now they seem to be targeting soft targets that are quiet. So out in the country, out in the suburbs, they can be anywhere now. And so with that, we need to have a look at their location, the type of house, their lifestyle,
right,
if they have pets, what time So sometimes I get a lot of couples that the husbands work out in the mines, so they want good sort of security that they can use at night time as well. There are many parts that need to be addressed.
Right. What are the? I guess if I was coming in and I was flustered, I'd just been broken into. What would be the three key things that you would suggest that I need to put in with the alarm system? I know one of them obviously is back-to-base monitoring, which you talked about in the past. But what are the three key things you absolutely need to have in any alarm installation?
Okay, well, obviously a good alarm system that's going to cover all of the house.
Yeah.
So you've got to make sure that the detectors are put in the right location to allow you protection. Not only when you're away from the house, but when you're coming back into your house.
Right.
And the situation is, with a lot of these larger houses, people try to, or don't really understand the importance of having detectors in those back rooms of the house, because you can be entering the front of the house and there could be someone in the back of the house where there's no protection. And that's where you get your home invasion, or a burglar will face up to you with a softball bat or whatever. We had a case recently where a chap entered the house and there'd been a disturbance in the house and he was hit over the head with a bottle.
Oh, God.
And that was not too far from where I live, actually. And the neighbours were quite concerned about that. So, yeah, so you need to have a good alarm system that's going to cover all the house.
Right.
You want as much information as possible when the alarm goes off, and generally that can be done through either a monitoring station or through your phone. And then once you've had that notification, you want verification, which is some sort of video footage to show you if there's someone in your driveway or someone has been at your house, and in which case you'd call the police straight away and say, look, my alarm's gone off, there's a couple of guys on my driveway I don't recognise, and the police will attend to that 90% of the time. Whereas normally if you call a security company, they may be there within 45 minutes.
Oh, really? So you're saying that the alarm system will go off and it'll notify me. Let's say I'm out of the house. I can get a notification on my phone. I can remote in and see by video if there are people there, and then take that action to call the police.
Correct. That's what we find is the trend and the preference with most people now.
And so, in terms of monitoring, you said there that some security companies are actually a little slow to respond. I know you provide that monitoring. How does that differ then? If some companies are slow, how is your service different from theirs?
Okay, monitoring does more than one thing. First of all, monitoring notifies you if there's an alarm event.
Right.
And generally, they will ring a key holder straight away and say your alarm's been activated. And generally, it depends on what time of the day it is as to how fast they respond. And generally, at night time, there's more guards on the road than what there is during the day. But the monitoring company serves several purposes. One is if you've got a business, and if you're a doctor's surgery or a jewellery store, you need to know that your employees have entered into the premises safely, so that's called opening.
Yep.
When they're leaving, you want to know they've left safely, so that's called closing, so you get opening and closing reports. Now, if I'm forced to open, say, for a jewellery store, and I've got someone holding a knife or a gun or whatever and saying to me, right, switch off the alarm, I'm going to go in and rob you, right? So what you do then is you use a duress number. It's a number which switches off the alarm but notifies security at the same time that there's a major problem.
Right. So it sounds to me like it's much more than people imagine initially. Most people, I would think, would say, oh, I just want an alarm to make noise and to scare people away. But you're saying that what you're explaining to me is the reality is that having the alarm system in place is actually much more complex, and it gives you a lot more options to manage the security of either your home or your business, correct?
That's correct. The other thing is, too, is with a residential alarm or a house alarm, you have a panic or a duress button on the alarm as well. So if there's someone breaking into your house, you can then activate the panic buttons either through remotes, through your phone, or through buttons on the keypad, which will notify security of a possible home invasion. Right.
So when now we're talking about the features and functionality of the alarm systems. I mean, what's the best alarm system? I mean, are there brands that are better than others? Are there feature sets that you would think should be the default that you would install either in a home or a business?
Yes. Look, I think with business alarms, you require more features than what you do in a house.
Yep.
With a commercial alarm, you usually need key holders. So I say not key holders, users. So you may have up to 20 or 30 users that come and go through that premises, so they need to arm and disarm the alarm system as they leave. And with that, the security get notified and you get notification. Say, for instance, there's a problem with one of the staff members who disarmed the alarm system or didn't disarm it out of his work schedule. So they know that who has come and gone out of that premises. So you get that reporting. With a residential alarm, you don't need all those features. You just need something that's going to allow you to night arm, allow you to possibly arm two areas, maybe the outside garage or the outside shed as a separate area, but just to be able to night arm it and arm it fully.
Okay. And you were saying that with some of the newer alarm systems, you have a whole range of new features and functionality. You were saying previously that some of them have really quite powerful and complex touchpads or control interfaces?
Yes, they have. Some of the keypads now have touch screens, which are very good and show you a lot of features. Right. Give you a lot of feedback as to what's happening within the alarm system. It'll give you, it'll show you which events have gone, which alarms have gone off, or who was the last person to turn the alarm off. It'll show you the memory of the alarm system. It'll allow you to operate outputs. So, for instance, it might be a garage door, it might be a light. So with some of the keypads, having those outputs, it means that if you, instead of having a button on the side of your garage where you push a button and open the garage door, it means anyone can do that. Anyone from a child to a burglar can simply push a button and open your garage door. Now, when you think about it, when you're building a house or for insurance purposes, you have to have deadlocks through all your house. All the windows have to be locked, all the doors have to have key locks, deadlocks. But with the garage, you can simply push a button and all that security just disappears. So that's when we put a reed switch on the garage door for that reason.
Yes.
And also make it a little bit more difficult to open the garage door by going through a keypad.
Nice. And one question I did have in mind is, knowing the reliance on the alarm systems for the telephone to communicate both in and out, what happens if I'm a smart burglar and I come in and I decide to chop the phone lines off the house before gaining access? I mean, what about that situation?
That's a good question, but we're a little bit smarter than that too.
That's good to see.
Okay, so what we do there is we have a GSM dialer, which is a wireless dialer. It uses the 3 or 4G network to dial to security. Now, there are different types of GSM dialers. There is a commercial grade one and there's a residential grade one. Now, the commercial grade one has polling. So what it does, it pings a signal depending on the importance of the premises or the risk of it being attacked. So, for instance, you can have up to a ping every 1 minute or a ping every 1 hour. So what it does, it actually communicates continuously with the security company. So even if the lines are cut, that's still communicating. Now, for instance, if anything goes wrong and that's the alarm's disconnected from the dialer, then and that ping stops, or even if a dialer is totally destroyed, the ping stops and the security companies see that as an alarm. So it's like receiving a continual signal saying the alarm's okay, and suddenly, bang, it disappears.
So it'd be the same if I decided to cut the power to a premises, if I chop the power out to try to disable the alarm system?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so in that instance, the alarm has backup, has a battery backup, but in saying that, it will send a report saying that there's a power loss. What I've been finding lately in a lot of houses is that the switchboards are outside of the house and they're not locked.
Yes.
So, and that's probably a lot of the older houses rather than newer houses. But what we do there is we advise them to get a Energex lock, which comes with 2 keys, and it's Energex key, and they get a key. So it means that the switchboard is locked. So if there is a problem, you know it's a genuine problem and not someone sabotaging your switchboard.
That's right. Okay. And I guess, look, probably the biggest question that everyone is going to ask is, how much is an alarm system going to cost me? Because I'm aware that you can go out at your local dodgy corner shop and you can buy a dirt cheap, run-of-the-mill alarm system. And I know in our previous discussions you really warned me against that because of the quality issues and stuff. So maybe you can address the issue of what's the difference between a good quality alarm system and the cheaper nasties, what you're going to miss out on, and then talk about the price and what's the investment to protect the home or the business?
Okay, so with alarm systems, there are basically, they all basically work the same. The problem is the quality of the detectors and some of the programming features within the alarm system. So first of all, you've got to have good quality detectors, otherwise nothing's going to work. And if you buy cheaper detectors, they're normally not heat compensated. So that means if you get a house that warms up, then the detectors will false alarm,
right,
even with a slight draft going through a house. So you've got to design a system to suit the environment. So for instance, if you've got a garage with a detector in it, you'd use a detector that was either a motion sensing or a dual tech detector that will allow for the heat coming over the top of the door and not false alarm, because false alarms eventually get ignored, and then if it's a genuine alarm, they don't work. So yeah, you've got to have good quality detectors. You've got to have detectors positioned in the right place. So generally detectors, a lot of people believe that the detector should be facing the windows, when in actual fact it's quite the opposite. You normally have a detector facing the inside of the house, not the outside of the house, where it's a stable environment.
Right. What is that? Is that because of the temperature issue?
That's right, because you get white light changes, you get curtains moving, you get light, so you tend to get more false alarms if you face the window. So we position our detectors facing towards the centre of the house. It stabilises the environment and they work better. So by using a good quality detector,
right,
using an alarm that allows us to program the tolerance of that detector. So with the better alarms, you can actually change how many times that alarm talks to how many times that detector talks to the alarm panel before it goes into alarm. So it can be double pulse, where you can change it to so many pulses per second.
So trying to pick up a dirt cheap alarm off eBay or something, it really is false economy, right? I'll be in a situation with constant false alarms, and it may not work at all.
It would probably work, but it would false alarm a lot. Yes.
Right.
And a wireless alarm, you have the similar sort of problems.
Actually, you just mentioned wireless and wired. Is there a difference between wired and wireless? What is that?
Okay, wireless alarms. Well, look, we use them occasionally, but as a last resort, and we normally use them in a two-story house or a unit complex that we can't get wiring from upstairs to downstairs. With wireless detectors, there are ongoing costs. There are issues with communication between the detectors and the panel. And with the cheaper wireless systems, we do have some better quality, which are very reliable. But with the cheaper ones, they switch off every 4 minutes. So that means if you walk past it, switch it off, and it'll switch off to save power, and you leave the house, that means there's 4 minutes that your house is not protected until the detector wakes up again. There are smart detectors now which are wireless, which have two-way communication. So most detectors only send messages to the alarm. With the newer version, they look for the detector and the detector says, I'm here, so there's two-way communication, which allows them to work more reliably and also saving power.
All right, so I know I've got to get a decent quality one. So back to the big question I know is on everyone's mind.
Yes.
How much does it cost?
Okay, so you can be looking at about $1,000 for under $1,000 for a small apartment. That would probably give you two detectors and a very basic alarm system.
Right.
With a larger house, you might get up to $1,500 to $2,500. It depends how many detectors, how many keypads, what type of siren. So it's like a car. What features how much does a car cost?
Absolutely.
It just depends. How what quality and how many devices you actually need through the house, because you may have pets in the house, you may have a larger house, you may have a split level house. So I mean, some alarms I have done have been as low as $900, and some have been, dare I say it, $9,000.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I think that's a pretty good investment, considering you're protecting your family home, and it gives you that assurance that no one's going to come in and do you harm. And I would expect that people would spend more on coffee nowadays, given the price of coffee, than putting into an alarm system. So $1,000 for a decent alarm system sounds pretty good to me, considering what it's protecting. Out of interest, are there any discounts or benefits from insurance companies by installing alarm systems?
Yes, I think some of the insurance companies offer 5% discount,
Right.
But in saying that, some of them insist you do have an alarm. And that's where some of our customers call us and say the insurance company have said, this is a high-risk area and we'll only cover you if you have an alarm system.
Right, makes sense. So Basil, do you do and provide alarm monitoring for people?
We're bureau agents. We're licensed to do that. So basically, we use a licensed monitoring station, a grade 1 station, and we use people like Instant Security or Central Monitoring Services, and we set up the alarm directly to them.
And would you recommend that people implement monitoring?
Absolutely. From my experience, I found that monitoring is a safer way to go, simply because you mightn't be near your phone at the time of an event. You might be out of coverage. You might be asleep. You could be somewhere else. When I say you're asleep, you could be away on a holiday or wherever, and your alarm goes off, and if you don't know it's gone off, then how do you act? How do you react to that? So at least if it's monitored and they can't get a hold of you, then they'll send a guard out or phone you until you answer the phone. They'll call you or other key holders. It could be 3 or 4 people on your list. Yep. They can't get a hold of you. They'll call your brother or whoever you put down there as a second key holder. So generally they can find someone and they'll ask for your advice as to what they should do, whether they want to send a guard or whether you take care of it or whether you send the...
Okay, absolutely. Oh, and there is a question. I have a small dog and I have a small cat. Won't they trip up my alarm systems? How do I deal with that?
Okay, there are detectors which are pet immune detectors, and depending on whether you have a cat or a dog...
Did you say pet immune detectors?
Correct, yes.
Right.
Yes, and there are several different types. There's microwave and infrared, and it's just a standard infrared type, but I always use the microwave and infrared, so that's heat and movement detectors.
Yes.
And generally they allow an animal of up to about 30 kilos to pass in front of them. But with cats, you need to be careful where you place your detectors, because they obviously get up high, and if they get too close to a detector, they will set it off. So positioning of the detectors is very important.
Right, that makes sense, absolutely. So Basil, we were just talking about the extra features and functionality that you can add to your alarm system, and it sounded like to me that your average alarm system now can actually do double duty as almost a home automation system. Would that be right? Absolutely.
With alarm systems now, you can add outputs. So you've got the detectors, which are inputs, which give you information. We have installations where the alarm system can obviously open doors. It can tell you if someone's walking in through the garage just by having a security beam across your garage door. And it'll announce by voice that someone's actually walking in the garage. So say, for instance, you've driven into your garage, you've opened the door. It's a little bit hot to close the door just yet, because it's the middle of summer. You're unloading the back of the car. And while you're going into the kitchen, someone can run in, opportunists can run in and grab some of your shopping, your purse out of the car, or even your keys if you haven't tugging them with you. Yep. And you'd get notification that someone's actually come into your garage.
That's pretty amazing.
And then we've got the reed switches which go on doors and on garage doors as well. So as the door's lifting up and down, it'll tell you that the door's open or closed.
So can I control those doors at all, or those locks?
Yes, you can. Yeah, absolutely. You can control them several different ways. One is through the phone. You can turn them on. You can turn your alarm on and off through the phone. You can, with access control, you have a keypad on the outside of the garage, so you've got keyless entry. So you can put in a code that will open the garage door and let you in.
It's amazing.
Where it's particularly good now with a lot of houses, they have electric gates out the front. So if you've got a monitored alarm and you've got an electric gate and there's no way of anyone getting in, then it's rather pointless having a monitored alarm, because they can't get in to check the house. So by having a keypad at the front of the gate, they can put in a number, allows the security guards to get in, or fire brigade or a doctor. If there's an emergency, you can give them the PIN number and they can get in through that. So the security company would have that number, and if there's any issues, if you push the emergency on the keypad, you've got medical, fire and police. So if you push any of those buttons, right, and the security company have your access number to the keypad, they can get into the house.
That's amazing. I mean,
through the gate.
So, I mean, because you know the current generation, they just love their iPhones and their remote connectivity. So you're telling me that I could have an alarm system, I could go to work, and I suddenly realize that I haven't locked the doors. I can remote into my alarm, turn the alarm on, lock the doors, have a sticky beak at the camera that's in the house, make sure that everything's, no one's in there, and then go to work. Is that right?
Yes, well, more so than that is we also have a setup where we can, when you're leaving the house, to turn off all those power points, where you have the scenario of, did I turn the iron off? Did I turn the, whatever it might have been off, the electric fry pan or something. So, yes, you can switch off a lot of the house to make it safe. So in the event of a smoke alarm, that can happen automatically.
Yeah. Or
you can manually, when you arm the system, it'll switch off some of your power circuits.
That's amazing. Well, that's pretty good, Basil. I think you've given us a very comprehensive overview of the alarm systems that you provide. Basil, what area of the country do you provide service to? What locations do you service?
Okay, well, we service basically Brisbane Metropolitan, but we do go as far as Redcliffe. We have been out to Ipswich, down to the Gold Coast, normally the northern end of the Gold Coast, and we've even been over to Stradbroke Island.
Nice.
And I've even done jobs in New Zealand.
That's a good trip. So if anyone wants to find out more information, where can they go? What's your website?
Okay, it's www.bbg.com.au.
All right.
And we're located at Hillcrest and Browns Plains, where we have a showroom, and it's a working showroom where people can come, and they're welcome to come and try the different types of alarms, different types of systems that we have. We have the intercoms, access control they can test, and also, believe it or not, we sell vacuum cleaners.
That's crazy. Everything but the kitchen sink. So if basically what we're saying is, if someone's got a question about their alarm system, and I guarantee that they will have a ton of questions given the things that you've told me about, they can come down and see you and have a good chat about exactly what they need, and you can advise them accordingly, and they can choose a system that's going to be right for their needs.
That's correct. Yeah, people generally bring in a plan, and we'll spend an hour or two with them, go over the plan, do a design for them. And then what we do then is that frame stage, we go to the house, we walk around the house with the owner, and then we confirm that what we've designed is going to work for them. Quite often things change within the plan, so we design it to suit their needs.
So if anyone's looking to install an alarm system, tell us where they can come down and see you and ask you any question that they've got.
Okay, we've got our showroom is at Unit 1, 16 Central Court at Hillcrest,
right,
which is near Browns Plains.
Excellent. And so you've got the showroom there. They can come ask you a ton of questions. You mentioned before that when they do come in, they normally come in with a plan, and you can sit down and work through that with them.
Correct. We do. We go through the plan, and if it's an existing house, we'll come out to site and obviously do an inspection and an evaluation and a quote.
Right.
And we do free. And the quote is free, obviously.
Excellent. Well, Basil, I really appreciate your time. Technical difficulties withstanding, we've got some great information here. And if anyone's watching the video, I suggest if you've got alarm system requirements, go down to Better Value Group and have a chat to Basil. He's pretty knowledgeable about this stuff, and I guarantee you'll learn something new about security and securing your home. Basil, thanks very much for your time. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule.
Thanks very much.